are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
I just want to ask on Ella Morris, an injury update on her and any injury updates off the back of last night.
So Ella Morris is training on the pitch, but also being monitored. So we need to wait and see for Saturday if she's available. Luana did the first minutes yesterday, and everything went well. So she trained today as well. The rest of the players still in the same phase. So Chuang and Amy will have. They will not be optional for this game, but they are still taking good steps on the grass. So it's a matter of a few weeks, I would say. But otherwise, we look strong.
And just looking ahead to Liverpool this weekend, last season was 2 draws, 1-1, both home and away. What do you make of Liverpool more generally as a side, and as well as what can you take away from those 2 draws last season?
I mean, they have a coach who's been in this league for a long time with great success, and you can tell that he knows how to both win games and come back in games. And in his teams, he's really strong and work hard. So I feel like when you play Liverpool, you know that you're going to have a tough game. We also had 2 good games in part of the games last season, but they came back and scored goals on us. So we need to make sure how we can game manage those games as well. Obviously, they have signed a few new players as well. So, I mean, it's going to be a really tough game. But we have a good start of the season, a good preseason. And when we know that if we get a good day, we're going to have a good chance to beat them. So we need to be really sharp, though.
Yourselves, you've got 2 wins and 1 draw of the first 3 competitive fixtures. Liverpool have gained no points. They've gained no wins, 2 draws and a loss. Is it a bad time to play a team in that situation where they're looking to get their first win of the competitive season?
No, I would say it's. I mean, you can pick and choose whatever you want to think of that, but we come with a good feeling in our bodies, and I feel like they probably come with that they want to have more points. They had 2 leads in those games and went with draws. So I think they want to beat us, but I know that it's a new game. The players will be ready to compete in this game, but if I can pick, I would rather play against a team who haven't won than won, but it doesn't really matter. It's going to be a tough game.
Thanks, Robert. Good luck.
Cheers.
Okay, Will.
Hi, Robert. Tottenham had only 4 shots during Sunday's match against Aston Villa. Does this apparent lack of offensive threat around the box against tougher oppositions worry you at all?
Not really. I mean, if you go the week before, I think we had like 22 shots. It's more of the performance around it and decision making. And I feel like, we were not happy with the attacking football against Aston Villa because we took the wrong decisions and gave the ball away in a few situations where we could have scored or could have created chances. And then because of that, we got a transitional game, which made it difficult to create more chances. So everything is affected by other stuff. So we need to be better in those situations. We need to make sure we are sharper. But every game is their own life, and every game is back and forth with what you're doing. So on the other hand, we scored 2 goals. We'd only have 4 chances, so that's a good thing, right? So you need to look at it in 2 ways.
And Liverpool's Olivia Smith demonstrated attacking prowess and aggressive pressing against West Ham on the weekend. Will you change your defensive approach to counter the threat that she poses?
I think she's been great in the first games, and I feel like she's a talented player with enormous power, and the finishing she did was really great, and she's a great pressing player as well. But we will never adapt just because they have good players, but we need to be aware of them. But we have our strategy, how we want to play. We have our tactics, how we want to break the press and defend against her as well. But I'm impressed by her. I think she's a great player.
Thanks a lot.
Cheers.
Okay, we'll move to questions on the online feed. Emma Sanders.
Hi, Robert. I just want to ask about Claire and Molly, your sense about the partnership that have played a couple of games together now. I just wondered what you've made of that partnership so far, what's worked, and what maybe do you still want to see them grow together doing?
I think they work well together. I can tell that they communicate and help the people around them as well. So they are organizing the team in a good way. I feel like they are both in possession, good players that can handle the ball and want to make sure they are playmakers for us. I still think it's a few things they can take steps with, how we can break the opponent's press and so on, and make sure we have different options in those scenarios. But I must say they play well together and they help the team in a good way. Out of possession, I feel like they are, our defense work has been better this season by actually, defending the box with crosses and so on. So against Aston Villa, they had a lot of crosses and those kind of scenarios, and that's they've been great there. Set pieces as well, both in possession and out of possession. So I feel like we are building a good relation there. But it was also nice to see Luana score yesterday and come back as well, and Amy is hopefully soon back as well. So we have 4 really good centre backs, but Molly and Claire has most of the time in these games been great.
Yeah, you've sort of already preempted my next question there, but in terms of like, the defending crosses, defending set pieces, like say you had to deal with that a lot against Villa, Liverpool last season posed a lot of threat with their set pieces. Just wonder overall in the league as a whole, now that you've had a year in England to sort of learn a bit more about the WSL, is that an area that you think teams and managers in particular are really starting to focus on, and that kind of development of set pieces and the quality within the coaching structures around it?
Yeah, I think it's one of the big differences from Sweden is the power of a few players in this league. You have some really strong, powerful players, and to defend the box when it actually becomes quite many crosses, which it is in this league, you need to have a good plan for that, because it's the first duel to get the first touch of it. But it's a lot of second situations as well where you need to have a good plan to make sure you win the second ball, or you basically cover the right spaces and so on. So for me, it's been a good learning point the first season to make sure that that's a really big moment of the game, that actually if you're winning or losing, it's depending on set pieces or crosses and runs in the box. And I feel like, we had different staff members working with it last season, but Chris, who's come in from Man City with the goalkeeping, he has a good knowledge about and experience with this league with that as well. So that helps us a lot, how to organize, how to think of the second phase, the third phase as well. So for me as a coach, to get that kind of help is really, really good. And I think the team feel like we have got some more knowledge in those areas, which mean that we can also use the players we have in a certain way. And of course, Claire is an important role there as well.
Thanks, Robert. All the best. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks, Emma. We'll go to Dan.
Hey, Robert, hope you're well. I know you mentioned there about the 2 games last year, and obviously, taking the lead in the game, and then obviously ending up with a point. Was there any kind of point when you look back at those games where the game maybe switched and there's something that you want to do a little bit better this time around?
Yeah, I think the first game was quite good first half from us. Then they switched a little bit of tactics and formation and came back into that game. But it was basically a miscommunication, and then they had a long cross and a great header from the Norwegian striker there. So that was a little bit tough, because I felt that game we should have won. The away game we were not great. It was a very windy game at their stadium, and the first half was not great, but then we actually scored a goal, and I think Amanda Nilden has a really good chance to score 2-0, and she had to hit the post, and then we should have just killed that game, but we ended up in a little bit of a miscommunication, and then they scored a beautiful goal in the end. So game management is one of the things we need to be better at. How can we make sure we win those games? Hopefully with 2-0 instead of 1-0, but if we are not scoring the second goal, how can we be really sharp in the last minutes? Because what they do is they have so much strength in their strikers and the power in that team. So you can never sleep, or you can never be like, okay, we're done now. It's to this last second basically. So, and they never give up. They have a coach that makes sure they never give up. So game management, and also make sure we try to score more goals than one.
And just looking at the fixtures, I think 5 of the next 6 are against teams that finished above you last season. So kind of how exciting is that, to test yourselves against, competitors that you want to compete with week in, week out, and what you want to see from the team in this period?
I think it's going to be very interesting to have a lot of those games in a row, because I feel like we want to be better in those games. We want to compete against these teams. And now when we go into these games with I don't think people expect us to win all the games, but we also expect us to be better than last season. So we're going to make sure we compete in these games. And when you have done all these games, you can summarize, okay, are we ready to compete against these teams or not? And if we are, we're going to have a good position in the table. If we're not, then we need to make sure we take the steps quickly so we can, fix it during the season. So it's more like to get an answer on where we are and where we're going, and see how we can improve even more. But we know that we have a good chance to play good football and to compete. And I feel like last season you didn't really know, and you kind of hoped that you were having a good result. But this season we kind of go into it and going to try to make sure we get a good result. And that's the big difference this season, I would say.
Brilliant. Thanks, Robert. Best of luck for the weekend. Thank you.
Cheers.
We'll go to Phil.
Hi.
I was just going to say about Jessica Naz, the second goal of the season for her on Wednesday night, senior England international these days. How much do you kind of feel like she's sort of announcing herself at the moment, and how big a season do you think this can be for Jess now?
I think her X factor is one of the best in the league. She's so strong and powerful and quick, and she have the finishings to be the top player in this league and in this country and to play in the Lionesses. Her next level will be to be consistent and make sure she can handle more phases of the game. So she's still quite young. She's still learning that. So we're working very much to be consistent with her and still have the X factor stuff that she has. So I think she's great. I think her mentality is great. I feel like just give her time to grow into this role and not, expect her to do those goals every game, but make sure she tributes to the team. She presses so well. She's great in the link up. She's great threatening. So she just needs to get the time before she's starting in this national team. But I'm quite sure she will get there because she's so good in some areas where I don't see any other player in this league can compete with her.
That's great. Cheers.
Cheers.
Alex.
I think you mentioned last week that Spurs' record at Brisbane Road compared to the main stadium last year, wasn't as great as maybe what you'd hoped for. Was there any reasons for that? Do you think it's maybe a case of lower barrel turnout pitch or anything? And do you think Sunday can kind of be a statement of intent that you have progressed properly over the summer?
I mean, it's a great stadium. It's a great pitch. We have fans behind us. So, I mean, obviously we cannot complain about anything. So last season when we were there and we didn't get the wins we needed, it was more down to game management. The first, I think it was the first part of the games where we lost, we had draws where we should have won. So I think it's more about the football we play and how we take steps with that. Then, of course, when you play at the stadium, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and you get these big games and these big fans and you get that feeling, obviously that probably help you one way or another. So it's like if you can play in those stadiums, it gives you something extra. But you cannot say that we don't get it at Brisbane Road either. So I think it's more like a progress. And I feel like we won the first game this season there. And I think we're just going to make sure we keep growing that kind of, experience at the stadium, that this is our home ground and this is where we want to improve. And I feel like we had a good start there, and I feel like it's our home, and we make sure that is in the locker room is our colors. We make sure we have the symphony before the game starts. We make sure the fans is loud. So I think we are taking steps together with the fans and the club to make sure that that's our home ground. And I feel like we're going to have an even bigger chance this season to win more games than last season, because it should be like that. We should win the most of the games at the home stadium.
And just also one on Drew Spence. Since you joined the club, you brought in a lot of midfielders, a lot of new talent, a lot of younger talent. And she's the one still kind of shining in the middle of the park. Obviously here before you were manager. Just how impressed were you being with her start of the season, and do you think maybe it kind of shows her importance, maybe her experience at a top level?
Yeah, I think sometimes you forget that it's not only young players who is talented or important. Sometimes you can actually develop older players as well. I feel like the thing with Drew is that she's probably one of the most eager players in the team to learn and to get better. So even if she's not 19, she's actually probably the most competitive player in the league and in the team that want to improve. So her way of doing that is a talent by himself, and I think she probably played one of the best football she have played. I haven't seen her whole career, but what she's doing right now is being dominant in possession, and she do these passes in behind. She do the link up play. She handle the ball. She So for me, it's like. She just takes steps, and I think she's much better now than last season because she's developed her game, her fitness, her leadership. So we don't need to just educate and teach and develop young players. We can do it with older players as well, because they are part of this club and they are part of this future as well. It's just more of the attitude and how they want to be on this journey. So I can play players who is 35 if it's that case. Doesn't really matter as long as they have the passion to be better and help the team to be better. The benefit, though, is she cannot play 10 more years. It's going to be hard. So then, of course, if you have a 19-year-old, you're probably going to you could have 15 years with that player. But it's all about what they're doing and how they perform and how they act. And Drew is a really pure role model for all of the players in this squad, and great for the fans as well, because she's so talented.
Thank you. Best of luck on Sunday.
Cheers.